Welcome to Your Need to Know. I'm your host, Catherine Reed, and tonight we're going to be talking about Sarcoma Awareness Month, which is in the month of July. Our guests are Dr. Negleatha Johnson and Sheila Bean. They are with Life Water Ministries International, which is based locally here in Northern Virginia. Welcome, Negleatha. Welcome, Sheila, to Your Need to Know. Um, I'm fascinated by the history of Life Water Ministries International. People who watch my show know that I regularly say, "How can you have been around since 1996 and I've never heard of you?" But regularly I find organizations that have been around a long time and I have not heard of you. But you have a very interesting history, Negleatha, and as the co-founder, share with us how you started out and how you ended up in this particular arena doing this kind of awareness.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Catherine. I greatly appreciate it. We are probably a well-kept secret, and we are trying to do something about that. And thank you for having me here. That helps us to release that secret a little better. Indeed, in 1996, my husband and I founded Life Waters Ministries. It started as a music ministry. Um, and I was a songwriter and recording artist and was, writing songs and doing CDs and traveling throughout the United States and internationally singing. And as time went by, we started to do conferences and retreats and all kinds of things that stemmed from the music that I was writing. As time went by from 1996 to about 2015, things shifted actually. My sister, Diane Jones, was diagnosed with uterine sarcoma cancer. She thought at first it was fibroids. Her doctor the summer before said, "Hey, you have some pretty big fibroids and a large number of fibroids going on." And so she was to have a partial hysterectomy, and Diane waited. She says, well, I'm going to wait until January of 2015 when the Affordable Care Act was going to the next level, and she needed what it provided by way of health insurance, and that's a whole nother segment in itself. And so when 2015 came around, January of 2015, she was diagnosed with uterine cancer actually in December of 2014. And then 2015, when she went to have what was a total hysterectomy, it was determined that she had uterine sarcoma cancer. We had never heard of sarcoma cancer in our lives. Diane was my third oldest sister. I have three older sisters. She was sister number three. I am the baby, they call it, but not really. And that diagnosis turned our lives around. We are still spinning actually from that diagnosis. As a result, that following August of 2015, my husband and I decided that because we had not been aware of this aggressive and fast-moving disease, especially in her case, we wanted others to know about sarcoma cancer. So we did our first sarcoma cancer benefit concert and dinner in Northern Virginia to raise awareness and to raise funds. And we have continued on that path since then. So her diagnosis changed the trajectory of Life Waters Ministries in a huge way.
And that's so true when cancer touches your own family. And I think most families can tell a story of someone who has been touched by cancer. But unlike things like breast cancer or prostate cancer, this ended up being something that you had never heard of. I have never heard of this particular kind of cancer either. And the fact that it kind of masqueraded as something else.
Absolutely.
So I'm embracing this idea of yours that we need to raise up and help to educate people about what to look for. And I know, Sheila, that this is part of what you are doing is in Life Waters Ministries International's program to put together cohorts. Tell us a little bit about what that concept is.
Well, our focus is to create awareness and to and to educate. And education is so, so important, because if I knew then what I knew now, maybe, my course would have been different. But, hindsight is 2020. But yeah, but there were just some things that I did not know, and so we want women um, to get their wellness exams, even after, typically when a woman have a hysterectomy, the doctor will say you need to only get your pap smears or wellness exams every 3 to 5 years. And I highly recommend that women continue to do it yearly. I had hysterectomy over 20 years ago, and then over 20 years later, I'm diagnosed with uterine leiomyosarcoma. Even after the hysterectomy, the cells are still there. So that's just one of many points that we would like to educate women on. Yeah.
Well, absolutely, because, and you hear this more and more of women really having to be better informed advocates for themselves. And no slight to the medical profession, but research is ongoing.
Yeah.
More and more things are being discovered about these what I would call are more rare forms of cancer. And so the doctors really don't know either. And so until you push, get a second opinion, another test. Sheila, you telling us all that a hysterectomy does not mean don't get pap smears every year. People need to hear that, or you're taking for granted that someone telling you you're safe not to do that is the truth. And for them, it might even be for a certain percentage of women, that is fine. But who wants to take chances with their health? So, Negleatha, tell us a little bit more about, what you are doing. And I know you've got awareness is number one, and in this cohort program is number two, and it's a fairly new program. So what are you looking at as far as trying to expand this and include more women who may not know that your program exists at all?
Exactly. So as I mentioned, the Sarcoma Reach is one of our signature programs. That Reach stands for Research, Education, Access, Cure, and Hope. Just wanted to say that again. We are excited about being able to expand this program in a personal way. It's not something that we've just come up with because it sounds good. It's something that is obviously near and dear to our hearts. We take it very seriously. Our first two efforts, though, really is that awareness and that cohort piece. Sarcoma cancers, first of all, rare and aggressive cancers of the bone and the soft tissue. And under those two categories, Catherine, there are more than 50 subtypes. And so, like, leiomyo is one subtype, but even under leiomyo, there's uterine leiomyo. So there are all of these subtypes. It's already rare and aggressive, which means doctors are not seeing this regularly, which means that even sometimes the best physician will miss it. And so I'm so thankful that when my sister was diagnosed with uterine leiomyosarcoma cancer, that she saw a sarcoma specialist. And so we encourage, in terms of education and awareness, please, if you are diagnosed with sarcoma, any of the sarcomas, our particular focus really is the uterine leiomyo piece. But if you're diagnosed with any of the sarcomas, please get a second opinion to make sure that it is exactly that, and see a sarcoma specialist. Don't assume that your primary care physician will be able to be your best healthcare professional for this. So awareness for us, we are doing these interviews, we are talking to people, we're almost short of going door to door saying, hey, have you heard about this? Do you know about this type of cancer? I want people to know, I want women to know, getting back to the fibroid piece, that not all fibroids are equal. They're not all equal. Those fibroids that many women have, myself included, and so much so, they're so prevalent until many GYNs were like, oh, it's just a fibroid, you're okay. Sometimes it's not just a fibroid. And in the case of Sheila, she found, who would have thought that after having a hysterectomy, then 20 years later, she would be diagnosed with anything uterine, but uterine LMI sarcoma cancer. So it is incumbent upon us to advocate for ourselves as much as we can, in terms of our health. Secondly, in terms of my sister, I mean, she was single. She'd been divorced twice. She didn't have any kids. I live in Northern Virginia. She was in the Atlanta area. I'm here with my family. She was there pretty much alone, with great friends. But in these situations, many times you need some family, because that road is going to get pretty rocky. So I was there very often. My other sisters were there as often as they could, and we considered ourselves her medical advocate. And so we did our best to learn everything that we could to be able to speak the language for about this disease, so that when we're talking on Diane's behalf, we were talking from a place of knowledge as much as we could. That is critical. That is critical. And I totally believe that it allowed her doctors to give her just an extra level of respect, because we went in already having done some homework.
I think that is so important. And I think
Absolutely.
women have learned that self-advocacy is what is going to save our lives.
Mhm.
But helping our sisters, whether they're biological or just our sisters, is also
Absolutely.
really important too, because people don't know what they don't know.
Absolutely.
And there's been a journey from breast cancer awareness that started really in the 1970s
Mhm.
to ovarian cancer, which was kind of the silent killer and took the lives of so many. And so much research is being done around trying to find genetic markers for
Right.
these different types of cancer. And so I'm thinking to myself, for both of you, that you have to be concerned about your actual family members. When someone in your family has cancer, you are thinking to yourself, is there a genetic component to this? And how would we even know that? And is there even research around that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My understanding as of now that there is no genetic marker. There is nothing that says, well, my sister had it, so maybe I'll have it. No one really knows. Like, we have no idea. Well, let me go back. I remember when Diane was at the doctor and we asked that question, how did she end up getting this? This is what he said, and I never will forget it. And he and not the most sensitive person, which is why we ended up with another doctor. He said, you just happen to be unlucky.
Wow.
You're the one, you happen to be that one that got it. Not that you.
And I'm just
Yeah.
going to pause you there, because we're going to go
Absolutely.
to a short break.
Sure.
But please join us to hear more from Dr. Negleatha Johnson and from Sheila Bean here on Your Need to Know.
Caitlin, be serious. No, take the oath. Come on. I'm totally taking this seriously. Okay, I'm ready. You may begin. I pledge that I will never meet in person with anyone I first met online without checking with my parent or guardian. And furthermore, if my parent or guardian agrees to the meeting, it will be in a public place and my parent or guardian must come along. Do you pinky swear? I do.
When you teach your kids about internet safety, they'll pass it on. For more information, go to cableclicksmart.org.
Freedom. It's at the core of who we are. The freedom to live without fear, to jog where we please, to wear a hoodie. The freedom to breathe. Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
Welcome back to Your Need to Know. I'm your host, Catherine Reed, and we are talking about Sarcoma Awareness Month, which is in the month of July. Our guests are Dr. Negleatha Johnson and Sheila Bean of Life Waters Ministries International, which is actually based here in Northern Virginia. Thank you, ladies, both so much for being here. I think you have probably given all of us reason to be very concerned about our lack of knowledge about this particular kind of sarcoma. But when we went to break, Negleatha, you were talking about the doctor's response that your sister was just one of the unlucky ones, which is not what anyone wants to hear from their physician with a diagnosis like that. But, physicians are doing their best medically to heal us. But there has to be, and this is what I think you're bringing to this, your soul and your spirit are also very important in a journey of recovery and fighting something
Absolutely.
like cancer. And so tell us a little bit more about what happened when this doctor said this to your sister.
Well, when he shared with Diane that when we were asking, well, how did she end up getting this? Is this thing genetic? Was she exposed to something? And he said, as I mentioned, no, you just happen to be one of the unlucky ones. What we need to what happened with him is we replaced him with a different physician, first of all. Secondly, we have to also know that 1% of all adult cancers will be a sarcoma cancer. So it's just this small little piece. And so, when he said, well, you just happen to be the unlucky one, not the thing to say. But this cancer is so rare and so aggressive until when you are diagnosed, you do ask the question, why me? How did this happen? It is often referred to as the forgotten cancer. We are trying to do our best to change that, where sarcoma cancer, and especially uterine sarcoma cancer, is something that people are at least familiar with. They can at least say, I've heard about it. So that's, one of the important things that we're trying to do now. In terms of the cohort, you're exactly right. Physicians can do that, those medical pieces, but there's something beyond that that's also needed. And that's where our cohort comes in. I am so glad to have met Sheila Davis Bean and Margaret Livermore. Not only are we doing what we can to encourage them, but they are encouraging us. I don't know that I have met stronger women who are facing, this type of challenge, who speak with such hope. They speak with such hope. And most of us know that when our hearts and our spirits are hopeful, it is almost like a medicine within itself. And so we're trying to connect with that piece of them, checking in, trying to see what is it that we need to know so that we can serve you better.
So Sheila, tell us a little bit about the what I would call the less tangible steps to recovery, the steps of fighting back against a cancer diagnosis like this.
There are times when it's very difficult, especially when you're in the midst of treatment, and it's staying positive is the key. And sometimes you forget what you know because you're so sick. That's why it's so important to have a support group, a source of support that can remind you of, those scriptures that you normally would go to in times of distress. And I mean, because literally you are just feeling so bad that you can't even think. And so just to have a group of people that are reaching out to you and encouraging you and just reminding you of what you already know. And it's so important to your well-being. And that is what keep you pushing. It's not so much as the hope in medicine, but the hope that you have, the faith that you have in God that's pushing you to just knowing that the outcome is going to be okay.
So it sounds like you and Margaret Livermore are really quite the pioneers in sort of establishing how this is going to work. And so, what do you envision as far as being able to help women locally in person or being able to reach out across the miles? Because when people are very sick, sometimes they are limited in their ability to actually physically be where they can be with another person. And I think this is really COVID has shown us what a challenge it is to offer comfort and support and connection when you cannot physically be with someone. So Negleatha, Sheila, how do you see this moving forward?
I
Go ahead, Sheila.
okay. Okay, yeah.
Well, I mean, one advantage is that myself, Margaret, and I, we're living through this, and it's so much easier, and people will receive what we have to say more so than someone that doesn't know. I mean, people on the outside can offer all the encouragement in the world, but at the end of the day, listening to someone who is living it, you know, and I tell people all the time, I'm a survivor. When I say I'm a survivor, they go, "Oh, you're cancer free." I'm like, no, every day I wake up, I'm a survivor.
I'm a survivor.
So, you know, living in the moment. And yeah, so I think just knowing that they have someone that is experiencing what they are experiencing makes a huge difference.
It does. And it seems, Negleatha, that you are really offering this out. Like this show is one way that you are offering out to say, we are here for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you mentioned COVID, and I'll talk fast. I know the clock is ticking. I know the clock is ticking. You know, you mentioned COVID and how it kind of impacted our ability to kind of be closed. But one of the good things that COVID did, though, it taught us all how to be more resourceful, and especially in terms of technology. So I am thankful that we have online platforms where we can reach people around the world. We may not be able to reach out and touch them, you know, physically, but we can reach them. And I think the communication of the heart transcends wherever we are. So our heart talk will transcend, you know, wherever we are, you know, geography and locations. So we're going to take full advantage of online platforms. We're going to do local workshops, starting out with local workshops to meet with women, to teach them about all of these things we're talking about now, and then to branch out, you know, from there. So we are, as I mentioned earlier, we are on a mission to get the word out about this disease.
Well, you know, and you're so right. COVID did teach us a lot of things. And if there's a silver lining that came from that, it's the fact that we can be connected in ways we never thought. And
Absolutely.
that connection transcends hundreds and thousands of miles. Again, I've been able to interview people that I wouldn't if they'd had to come into the studio. Great. So I count myself fortunate. I think people who didn't think online church would work, or that older people would ever, you know, like older people can't use Zoom, but all of that's been proven wrong.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. We've all learned so much as a result of the challenge of COVID. So I am thankful. Real quickly, COVID also gave us an opportunity as a nonprofit to rethink how we serve, because we couldn't really go anywhere. So we had the opportunity to get quiet and to think about what we needed to think about. And in that time, we have, you know, developed some really amazing things. So it's all good. You know, COVID itself was not good.
No,
but
it's not. And I'm not even sure it's over, Negleatha.
Yeah,
I'm not even sure it's done.
I don't believe that it is. But it definitely has taught us how to make the best of what we're dealing with.
So you've got some things coming up too. You know, you're not, no dust is gathering on you. First of all, we should encourage people to go to your website, because there are other resources, other national organizations that provide additional information about this particular kind of sarcoma on your website, which is the Life Waters Ministries International website. But then you've got other events coming up this year too. So tell us about what Life Waters Ministries International is doing.
Well, as you said, no dust ever gathers around us. We are constantly on the move, and we're excited about that. In September, on the 24th, we have our second annual Sisters Going the Distance virtual event. It includes women from all around the world. This is one of the gifts, actually, of COVID to us. We used to do something like this in person. We couldn't because of COVID. And so we developed a virtual piece. It is now called Sisters Going the Distance. It is a free event. Our theme this year is Your Mental Health Matters. And how important it is to really understand that mental health piece, especially when you are dealing with a difficult diagnosis. December 18th is our fundraising gala. It is will be at the Marriott Falls Church in Falls Church, Virginia. Our tickets will go on sale probably August or September. We are hoping and we are praying that our cohort members will be able to be with us so that we can serve them with royalty as the warriors and the queens that they are. And so we invite everyone to come out and be with us. It's always great. The music is great. Food is great. We treat everyone as if they're right here in our home.
I think that is so important. You know, I just saw something on Twitter today. I follow the Virginia nurse practitioners, and they were saying they're about to roll out a 988 national number for mental health.
That's right. That's
Isn't
right.
that amazing?
That's
I'm like,
right.
we could have
That's
thought of
right.
that before, but it's okay. We thought of it now.
Yes, yes. I'm familiar with that, and I'm very happy about that.
I am
The
too.
need is great. The need is great.
And I'm glad that you've got a whole event that's really talking about that, because one of the things, and we haven't really touched on it a lot, but here at the end of the show, I do want to say that there's a lot of stigma around cancer still to this day. A lot of people who have
Absolutely.
it don't feel like they can share it. A lot of people who have cancer don't feel like other people are comfortable being with them if they're not comfortable with the idea of cancer, and the mental health toll that it takes, not just on the person with the diagnosis, but on their family members.
Absolutely.
And so I think that the fact that you're talking about this, that you're on the show, is so important. Both of you willing to say, you know, there's so much more to a cancer diagnosis than just treating the cancer cells. It's got to be more holistic.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, I thank both of you so much for being here. I encourage people to go to your website, Life Waters Ministries International, which I did not hear about until Deborah Johnson, our mutual friend, brought you to our attention. And I'm very grateful for that too. And I hope that those viewers of Your Need to Know are aware that whenever you find an organization like this one, doing what I call the heavy lifting of humanity, that's what this show is about. And I hope you'll reach out to me so that we can raise up organizations like this one, because we all benefit from these connections, from this collaboration, and from this awareness. So thanks very much to both of you for being here. And for those of you at home, this is what you need to know. Thanks for joining us. We're on 7 p.m. every Wednesday.